Director of National Intelligence. Oh, where's Tulsi? She's like hotter than everybody. She's the hottest one in the room right now because she found out with certainty. I think we knew it before, in all fairness, Tulsi. But now you have certainty. She has all the documents. She has everything that you need. And she found out that Barack Hussein Obama led a group of people and they cheated in the elections, and they cheated without question. It's not even a would you say there's even a little question there, Tulsi? She says no. And you found things that nobody thought we'd ever find. And I'm very happy and very honored to have you with us. She's right now, by far, Speaker, she's hotter than you right now, Speaker. She's the hottest person in the room right now, Speaker. So, Tulsi, great job. And I know you have a lot more coming. She told me you've seen nothing yet. So I heard those rumors about you, but now I know they're true. So we're very proud of you, Tulsi. They cheated so badly, and ultimately it led to a loss in 2020, and it shouldn't have been a loss. It was a big victory. We won by a lot. We had to do it again. But if I thought we lost, I would never have run again. And this is a far more consequential election than it would have been if we did. That's the only thing I can say in favor of it. But
she's the hottest one in the room right now, and rightly so. She's earned it and deserves the recognition and praise. Plus, this has got to be setting the internet on fire right now with over 1 million views already on YouTube alone. Tulsi Gabbard responds to Obama office's denial letter. And stay tuned, folks, and stick with me because more on that in just a moment. Plus, the latest on Trump trade deals and 3 major countries in a once-in-a-lifetime hat trick that the master, art of the deal maker, only 47 himself could negotiate. Marjorie Taylor Greene has an update on the Epstein files. There's also breaking news from one of the big 3 and Toyota that's shaking up the automotive industry. And tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of jobs are at stake and could be on the line or the chopping block, all because of the T word. All this and more coming up right now. And if you're on Medicare, will be soon, or know someone who is, don't miss this chance to connect with Chapter completely for free. They're your go-to experts for navigating Medicare, offering top-notch guidance and searching over 20,000 plans nationwide to find the perfect coverage for your unique healthcare needs. And I get asked questions all the time. For example, why is expert advice so critical, especially when it's free? Well, you see, Medicare can be a maze. Plans change, costs shift, and new rules like those in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act are shaking things up. Signed into law on July 4th by President Trump, this bill brings big changes, including a temporary 2.5% boost to the Medicare physician fee schedule for 2026 and new telehealth options. But it also cuts Medicaid funding, which many seniors rely on for long-term care. These cuts could mean higher out-of-pocket costs for some, especially low-income seniors who lose access to Medicare savings programs. Add to that the Social Security Administration's cost of living adjustment, COLA, for 2025, which is only 2.5%, barely keeping up with inflation. And for seniors on fixed incomes, every dollar counts, and rising costs can erode your Social Security benefits fast. That's where Chapter steps in. Founded with a mission to simplify Medicare and maximize savings, Chapter's team of licensed advisors was created to put you first, not insurance companies. They've helped thousands of seniors save an average of $1,200 a year, money that goes right back into your Social Security checks, helping you afford groceries, utilities, or even a little treat for yourself. And so, what's their secret? Well, it's quite simple, actually. They're independent and unbiased. That means they don't work on commissions that are their only driving incentive to find you coverage. So they search every available plan, not just a handful, to find the best fit for you in your health and budget. Whether it's lower premiums, better drug coverage, or extra benefits like dental or vision, Chapter's got your back. And if the plan you have now can't be beat, they'll tell you. They are upfront, honest, and there are no strings attached. Our friends at Chapter simply want to help as many people on Medicare as they possibly can. With inflation still high and the dollar losing value globally, planning ahead is more important than ever. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act also raises the standard tax deduction, which is great, but it doesn't fix the squeeze of rising healthcare costs. And an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Taking a few minutes now to explore your options with Chapter could save you thousands later. Don't let volatility catch you off guard. Get prepared now before it's too late. And just think, the sooner you call, the closer you can be to savings. And I tell you what, if you like savings, just type that in the comments below. Type savings, SAVINGS. And tell us what you would do with the extra boost. So pick up the phone and dial the number on your screen, 270-467-2426. Ask Chapter any questions you have, but make sure you ask the big one. Hello, Chapter. My name is fill in the blank, and I want to know how much money can I save? Then come back here and leave a comment sharing your great news so I can feature it in future videos.
Fox News alert, another bad day to be a panicking. Trump scored a hat trick. He crossed 3 countries off his tariff hit list. You ready? First, it was the Philippines and Indonesia, the magic number 19% for both countries. And then the big one, the Japanese. $550 billion invested here and thousands of jobs created. And they'll be paying a 15% rate. Turns out Toyota tariffs work.
I just signed the largest trade deal in history. I think maybe the largest deal in history with Japan. And that was done with Japan. They had their top people here, and we worked on it long and hard, and it's a great deal for everybody. I always say it has to be great for everybody. It's a great deal. A lot different from the deals in the past, I can tell you that. But we're doing really well as a country. We're strong. We have a lot of money flowing in.
President Donald Trump shares this post that reads, "We just completed a massive deal with Japan, perhaps the largest deal ever made. Japan will invest, at my direction, $550 billion into the United States, which will receive 90% of the profits. This deal will create hundreds of thousands of jobs. There's never been anything like it. Perhaps most importantly, Japan will open their country to trade, including cars and trucks, rice and certain other agricultural products, and other things. Japan will pay reciprocal tariffs to the United States of 15%. This is a very exciting time for the United States of America, and especially for the fact that we will continue to always have a great relationship with the country of Japan. Thank you for your attention to this matter." And that's fantastic news. It'd be wise to ignore the naysayers and essentially liars who just want to undermine the Trump administration's success as they bring wealth and prosperity back to America to make us great again. And as you can see, the Trump was right jar is filling up, overflowing, and Richard Grinnell, special presidential envoy for special missions of the United States and an American diplomat, public official, and former public relations consultant who has served as special presidential envoy for special missions since 2025, posted this just moments ago. Breaking. So the tariffs worked and the borders closed. Egg prices are down, gas is less expensive, inflation is under control, stock market is soaring. DJT did it all in 6 months. And in parentheses, the US media sucks. Which is why it's so important that we are here, folks. We are the media now, and let the truth prevail. But like I always say, trust but verify. Do your own homework and believe half of what you see. And what was the other part of that old adage? Look, I'm just some random black guy on the internet posting videos on YouTube based on my love of country, hoping to share information that's valuable and helpful to all who see and hear it. But I don't know how credible some folks are out there, like this guy here, Tony Poznanski, who is apparently a sports card seller and just leaves wildly inaccurate, at best, statements like these that say literally none of this is true. Now, I try not to make a habit of arguing with idiots and the low IQ population, so I'll just carry on with sharing more of the truth and celebrating more MAGA wins. And another post from our fearless leader and commander-in-chief reads, President Ferdinand Marcos of the Philippines is just leaving the White House with all his many representatives. It was a beautiful visit, and we concluded our trade deal whereby the Philippines is going open market with the United States and zero tariffs. The Philippines will pay a 19% tariff. In addition, we will work together militarily, and it was a great honor to be with the president. He is highly respected in his country, as he should be. He is also a very good and tough negotiator. We extend our warmest regards to the wonderful people of the Philippines. And I just want you all to know why the trade deal with the Philippines is a big win for everyone, especially seniors. This deal means the Philippines will let U.S. goods like food, medicine, and cars come into their country without extra taxes called tariffs. And this makes these items cheaper for the people there. In return, the U.S. will put a small 19% tariff on goods from the Philippines, which helps protect American jobs. This agreement also includes working together on military matters, making both countries safer. And President Trump is working hard to create more deals like this around the world. His goal is free trade, fair trade, where countries trade with each other fairly and without high tariffs, essentially benefiting everyone. And for seniors here in the U.S., I want you guys, please listen up and pay close attention. This could mean more jobs for your families, lower prices on some goods, and stronger alliances with other nations. Globally, it helps countries grow their economies and build better relationships, which can lead to more peace and prosperity for all.
And I have a real shot. We're taking in tremendous amounts of money. You saw that we had a $25 billion surplus last month.
Yeah.
And the tariffs haven't really started by comparison to what they will be. You know, we're doing them on cars right now, cars and steel mostly. But the other ones kick in on August 1st, and they're very substantial. And the answer is, I think there's a real shot. I actually say there's a shot at, we have the Internal Revenue Service. We could use the External Revenue Service, and we wouldn't even need the Internal Revenue Service. But the money is very substantial. It's hundreds of billions of dollars.
And as you all heard there, President Trump once again reminds everyone that the objective of the tariffs is to get rid of the IRS and thus income tax. But isn't it ironic, or at the very least comical, and how Clandestine says they find it hilarious that most libertarians are calling for the impeachment of the guy who's working to get rid of the IRS. And speaking of the IRS and taxes, check this one out here. I'll put it on the screen for you to see and read along. Al Sharpton's ministry loses tax-exempt status. After a deep investigation, the IRS has stripped Sharpton's ministry of its tax-exempt status, revealing it functions more like a political machine than a church. Now he's on the hook for 30 years of back taxes, and it's not over. A criminal referral to the DOJ is the next step. They use the pulpit to push politics. Now the bill is due. And as I'm sure you're all aware and still remember how the financial ties between, at the time, Vice President Kamala Harris's 2024 presidential campaign and Reverend Al Sharpton's National Action Network it just seemed icky, right? According to Federal Election Commission's filings, Kamala Harris's campaign paid Al Sharpton's nonprofit $500,000 in two $250,000 payments, one on September 5 and the other on October 1, shortly before Al Sharpton conducted a very friendly softball lob interview with Kamala on his MSNBC show, Politics Nation, in October. These payments, part of a broader $5.4 million spend by the Harris campaign on Black and Latino advocacy groups, has sparked serious questions about journalistic ethics and potential conflicts of interest and integrity. MSNBC claims they were unaware of the donations at the time, and Sharpton didn't disclose them to viewers or network executives. While critics, including the National Black Church Initiative, have called this a moral stain on the integrity of the Black church, which with some even urging MSNBC to suspend Al Sharpton. But beyond ethics, the payments have fueled speculation about election integrity and possible money laundering. The internet and comment sections across multiple platforms have questioned whether these were attempts to buy favorable media conditions and coverage, with one ex-post that I read calling it a pay-to-play scheme. While campaign donations to nonprofits are legal, experts note that the appearance of quid pro quo raises ethical red flags. However, at this time, no formal investigations by the FEC or DOJ have been announced, and neither Kamala Harris nor Al Sharpton have commented publicly on the payments. I just hope that this is on Pam Bondi's desk and doesn't get lost in the sauce, if you know what I mean. But as for recent claims about Al Sharpton's ministry losing tax-exempt status, those appear to be unverified and stem from social media posts rather than confirmed reports, and until credible evidence is released, we should treat such claims with skepticism. What is clear is that these campaign payments continue to stir debate about transparency, media bias, and the influence of money in politics, questions that remain unanswered as we head into the next election cycle. And speaking of election cycles, tell me your thoughts on this one here that says, Obama can claim all day long that he didn't push the fake Russia hoax, but apparently he's not aware of the existence of the internet, which makes it possible for everyone to go back and watch him do it with their own eyes.
They're undermining our alliances, cozying up to Russia. What happened to the Republican Party? Its central organizing principle in foreign policy was the fight against communism, and now they're cozying up to the former head of the KGB, actively blocking legislation that would defend our elections from Russian attack. What happened? Seem utterly unwilling to find the backbone to safeguard the institutions that make our democracy work. I'm here to tell you that you should still be concerned with our current course, and should still want to see a restoration of honesty and decency and lawfulness in our government. It should not be Democratic or Republican. It should not be a partisan issue to say that we do not pressure the Attorney General or the FBI to use the criminal justice system as a cudgel to punish our political opponents. And the closer that we get to Election Day, the more those invested in the politics of fear and division will do anything to hang on to their recent gains. They want to keep us divided and keep us angry and keep us cynical, because that helps them maintain the status quo and keep their power and keep their privilege. In the end, the threat to our democracy doesn't just come from Donald Trump or the current batch of Republicans in Congress or the Koch brothers and their lobbyists, or too much compromise from Democrats or Russian hacking. The biggest threat to our democracy is indifference.
And I found this one here that looks like Barry released a statement that reads, President Obama has released a statement, and I quote, "Out of respect for the office of the presidency, our office does not normally dignify the constant nonsense and misinformation flowing out of the White House or this White House with a response. But these claims are outrageous enough to merit one. These bizarre allegations are ridiculous and a weak attempt at distraction. Nothing in the document issued last week undercuts the widely accepted conclusion that Russia worked to influence the 2016 presidential election, but did not successfully manipulate any votes. These findings were affirmed in a 2020 report by the bipartisan Senate Intelligence Committee, led by then Chairman Marco Rubio.
We will be releasing further documents tomorrow that will refute that statement. And I would go back and point to, and we will be pulling a whole host of statements that were made by the Obama administration, by Hillary Clinton, by senior Democrat officials, by their friends in the media that state over and over again, after this January 2017 manufactured intelligence document was created, that repeat the narrative. And I'm looking at my notes here. New York Times says Russian hackers acted to aid Trump in the election. Obama's CIA Director John Brennan says there is strong consensus among us to support the CIA claim Russian hackers aided Donald Trump's election. Hillary Clinton said, I would be president if not for the Russian hackers supporting Donald Trump. So there is a vast body of evidence and intelligence that debunks and refutes this statement you've just read and others coming from some of the Democrat leaders in Congress today.
Here we go, folks. And here we go, folks. Breaking news. Tulsi Gabbard just announced that she's dropping groundbreaking evidence against Barack Obama that will make his denial of treason look ridiculous. Tulsi Gabbard, DNI, claims, and I quote, Obama, Hillary Clinton, and the media will all end up exposing themselves with their own words as fools. And we have another post here from Clandestine that says, Trump gives Tulsi high praise for her exposure of Obama and his cabal and their schemes to overturn the 2016 election. And notice how President Trump says that they knew long ago, says more documents are coming, and says we've seen nothing yet. Buckle up, folks, because it looks like it would appear as though the reckoning is upon us, or at least soon come.
But what we found is even more so. Now, we found absolute, this isn't like evidence, this is like proof, irrefutable proof that Obama was seditious, that Obama was trying to lead a coup. And it was with Hillary Clinton, with all these other people, but Obama headed it up. And, I get a kick when I hear everyone talks about people I never even heard of. It was this one. No, it was Obama. He headed it up. And it says so right in the papers. Got everything. This is the biggest scandal in the history of our country. And it really goes on to even the auto pen, because it all relates to the same thing. It all started the same sick minds. You have an auto pen, which is a tremendous, well, we don't have a president. We have an auto pen that signs everything. I'll bet you sign everything. You don't have auto pens.
What the president did today in the Oval Office, in front of a head of state, and a head of state who's really a most important ally in our fight against the Chinese Communist Party, and on global television, called out for the first time in our history another president, another commander-in-chief for high treason. And named the co-conspirators, and took, I think, if I clocked that right, about 9 minutes, and came back to it 2 or 3 times and reiterated and walked through the whole plot. And what's even more jaw-dropping than that is Obama actually took the bait and responded today. This is how concerned Barack Obama is about these charges. They actually put out a statement, so it's game on right now. And this could not get... This could not get more serious. What's so interesting about their statement, it's another bald-faced lie. Remember, 3 or 4 weeks after this group met, they decided to, or right around that time, they decided to throw out 73, I think, Russian diplomats and senior officials. So they, and this is how they were manufacturing the evidence. They made it up that it was direct interference to help Trump. That's a total lie. They manufactured the ICA. They had the Washington Post in on it, David Ignatius in on it, the entire team over there. And this thing's exploding. And it's exploding enough, Natalie, that Obama felt compelled to have his spokesman actually give a response because, like I said, Trump did it in the Oval Office in front of a visiting head of state. And on global television, because this thing's gone all over the world.
Steve Bannon claims that President Trump accused Obama of high treason on global television in front of a visiting head of state, marking a historic moment. This claim is part of a broader narrative suggesting a confrontation between President Trump and former President Barack Obama, with Bannon implying that Obama responded to the accusation, escalating the situation. The context of this claim is rooted in a long-standing political rivalry and conspiracy theories surrounding Obama's presidency. Despite Bannon's assertion, there's no credible evidence or official record supporting the claim that Trump directly accused Obama of treason in the Oval Office or that such an event was broadcast globally. Fact-checking organizations like factcheck.org have debunked similar claims in the past, indicating a pattern of misinformation around Obama's alleged misconduct. However, the mention of David Ignatius, a journalist from the Washington Post, in the video transcript suggests an attempt to lend credibility to the narrative by referencing established media figures. But Ignatius's role in this context appears to be misconstrued, as his work typically focuses on foreign policy and intelligence, not domestic political accusations. And the video clip framing aligns with Bannon's known strategy of using sensationalism to influence public opinion, often targeting perceived political enemies. But I'll let you all decide how you want to handle and process what you just heard and saw.
This is a serious issue. The highest volume of calls into my office have been about Epstein. People want the information. They don't want things covered up.
This post paints the picture that Marjorie Taylor Greene just said Trump is covering up the Epstein files, after hearing her, out of context, saying the highest volume of calls into my office have been about Epstein. People want the information. They don't want things covered up. And it seems, honestly, guys, no matter how hard I try to pull away from the Epstein drama, I just can't. And we keep getting sucked back in. This is what's happening right now. And not reporting on it, or at least acknowledging it, would be a disservice to all of you who rely on me to seek out, find, and share the truth. And so apparently now, CNN has just released exclusive footage of Trump and Jeffrey Epstein at the 1999 Victoria's Secret fashion show. And this post on X says, the media propaganda machine is clearly working overtime to try to connect Trump to Epstein.
CNN exclusive tonight out front. K-File has unearthed photos of Jeffrey Epstein that we've never seen, and they shed new light on his relationship with President Trump. The revelations come as Trump is under fire from his own base for his Justice Department's handling of the so-called Epstein files. Trump has tried, of course, to distance himself from Epstein every which way. But one of the photos that K-File found confirms that Epstein actually attended Donald Trump's wedding to Marla Maples. And this is the proof. Again, this has never been published before, so this is a new image. You haven't seen it out there on X or anything like that. This is the proof that Epstein attended Trump's wedding at the Plaza Hotel in New York. And in the photo, what you see is Epstein entering the Plaza Hotel. The wedding date of this is December 20th, 1993, in the center of their friendship, which of course continued. And for comparison, we'll show you on the right a photo of Trump and Marla Maples at the same location under the entryway arch. Now
Speaking of working overtime, President Trump wins his 60 Minutes lawsuit, securing a grand total of $36 million. And granted, it was a horrible decision for them to deceptively edit the Kamala Harris interview during the election.
Let's back up and realize what happened. A historic adversary, Russia, trying to figure out how can I take away some of the strength of that place called the United States of America. Well, one of the strengths that they've got, and it's intangible almost, you can't really touch it, but it's strong. When they walk in the room, it's their strength, is that they are a democracy. Imperfect though we may be, right? Flawed though we may be, it's part of our strength. How can we nip at that? Well, one of the greatest pillars of a democracy, especially ours, free and open elections. We are very proud of the fact we've not had any revolutions in recent history. It is through a peaceful transition of power through elections. Our election system, imperfect and flawed though it may be. So they decide to go with that. Well, let's get the American people going at each other to create division and a lack of confidence in this process. And they test out a bunch of subjects. And interestingly enough, the subject that gained the most amount of heat was race. And they had people going at each other. This is all in the, you read the reports and you will see that this is what happened. So, but the fact is Russia interfered.
President Trump shared this post saying, "This is another in a long line of victories over the fake news media, who we are holding to account for their widespread fraud and deceit. The Wall Street Journal, the failing New York Times, the Washington Post, MSNBC, CNN, and all other mainstream media liars are on notice that the days of them being allowed to deceive the American people are over. Make America great again." So either these networks are going to have to get to work and put in that overtime on reporting actual real news, or they're going to keep writing those fat checks to pay for all the fraud and deceit, which, by the way, hasn't won them any favors or elections. This is breaking news. DJT said we have just achieved a big and important win in our historic lawsuit against 60 Minutes, CBS, and Paramount. Just like ABC and George Slopadopoulos, CBS and its corporate owners knew that they defrauded the American people and were desperate to settle. Paramount, CBS, 60 Minutes have today paid $16 million in settlement, and we also anticipate receiving $20 million more from the new owners in advertising, PSAs, or similar programming for a total of $36 million. And perhaps this is a sign of what's to come. And based on what Mr. Wonderful had to say about late night talk show host Stephen Colbert, I could see this being a real possibility.
Should the President of the United States be picking and choosing people who should have jobs based on whether they say nice things about him or not?
No. He got fired before Trump said a word. 46.2.
Actually, Trump called for his firing
with a very simple explanation.
Okay, let me respond to what you said. Trump called for his firing last fall, just to be clear.
Let's talk about what actually happened. $46.2 million in losses on a franchise that's 40 years old. It's old, it's dead, and unfortunately for all of the category, people are geometrically not watching late night TV anymore. Here's the problem for Colbert. His contract is a payout contract through a transaction where there's a change of control. Only a moron would tell the president to F off before he gets his check. Okay? So what's going to happen now, in my opinion, is tomorrow, CBS, his boss, will fire him, and they will litigate for the next 5 years his payout.
Fire who? Stephen Colbert?
So now you're
Get
saying,
rid of this guy.
Oh, no.
So now you're saying they're really going to fire him for saying mean things about the president?
I want to go back to something.
He will never get his check.
And stick with me here, folks, because we have far more important news to discuss. And this just in. Tulsi Gabbard is most certainly the hottest in the room, and Caroline Leavitt by her side has to be the second hottest, right?
Thank you, Tulsi. And we do want to take questions on this topic while the director has time for this topic. She will leave. I'm happy to take questions on other matters after that. But if anyone has questions for Director Gabbard, you're welcome to ask them. We'll start with our new media seat as always. Emily, go ahead.
Thank you. And Director Gabbard, this one is for you. Do you believe that any of this new information implicates former President Obama in criminal behavior?
We have referred and will continue to refer all of these documents to the Department of Justice and the FBI to investigate the criminal implications of this.
For even former President Obama?
Correct. The evidence that we have found and that we have released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this intelligence assessment. There are multiple pieces of evidence and intelligence that confirm that fact.
Ed, go ahead.
Director Gabbard, thank you. So just two questions, but to begin on that. The president yesterday, you've inferred that the former president helped lead a coup. Based on what you now see, do you believe President Obama is guilty of treason?
I'm leaving the criminal charges to the Department of Justice. I am not an attorney, but as I've said previously, when you look at the intent behind creating a fake manufactured intelligence document that directly contradicts multiple assessments that were created by the intelligence community, the expressed intent and what followed afterward can only be described as a years-long coup and a treasonous conspiracy against the American people, our republic, and an attempt to undermine President Trump's administration.
The Senate Intelligence Committee spent several years looking into this and unanimously agreed in a bipartisan fashion. Secretary.
And yes, you heard that right. Eric Doherty says, holy smokes, a political nuke just went off in the White House briefing room after a reporter asks Tulsi, are you referring former President Obama to the DOJ for criminal implications? And DNI Tulsi Gabbard's response lights the room on fire. And she says that is correct. The evidence we found and released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this intelligence assessment of Trump Russia.
Any of this new information implicates former President Obama in criminal behavior?
We have referred and will continue to refer all of these documents to the Department of Justice and the FBI to investigate the criminal implications of this.
For even former President Obama?
Correct. The evidence that we have found and that we have released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this intelligence assessment. There are multiple pieces of evidence and intelligence that confirm that fact.
And maybe one of the best parts here, the ice cream with the cherry on top, making a surprise guest speaker appearance in the White House press briefing room. DNI Gabbard tells the corrupt MSM to their faces that they knowingly pushed this Russia collusion lie and were engaged in a years-long coup. So basically, Tulsi Gabbard is forcing the MSM to cover their own crimes.
At President Trump's direction and with the support and coordination with the House Intelligence Committee Chairman Rick Crawford, today we've released a declassified oversight majority staff report that was produced in September of 2020. The stunning revelations that we are releasing today should be of concern to every American. This is not about Democrats or Republicans. This has to do with the integrity of our democratic republic and American voters having faith that the votes cast will count. There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false. They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true. It wasn't. The report that we released today shows in great detail how they carried this out. They manufactured findings from shoddy sources. They suppressed evidence and credible intelligence that disproved their false claims. They disobeyed traditional tradecraft intelligence community standards and withheld the truth from the American people. In doing so, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people who elected Donald Trump in that election in November of 2016. They worked with their partners in the media to promote this lie, ultimately to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump and launching what would be a years-long coup against him and his administration. We're here today because the American people deserve the truth, they deserve accountability, and they deserve justice.
What a savage. How awesome is that? Seeds are being planted, people.
Preparing for a Hillary Clinton victory. But at the unusual direction of Barack Obama at the time, the intel community published implausible intelligence suggesting otherwise. Why? To sabotage the incoming president. This is truly one of the greatest political scandals in American history. And reporters at legacy outlets, some of which are sitting in this room today, like the New York Times and the Washington Post, were ridiculously awarded Pulitzer Prizes for their perpetuation of this hoax. It's well past time for those awards to be stripped from the journalists who receive them. It is not journalism to propagate political disinformation in service of the Democrat Party and those in the intelligence community who hand over out of context and fake intelligence to push a false political narrative.
And Henry Rosenberg says Barack Obama should sue Trump for defamation and attach a $3 trillion price tag to it. But I'm not sure why and on what grounds, because DNI Tulsi Gabbard just released reports proving that Obama directly gave the order to publish the Russia collusion hoax. Knowing there was no proof that Putin backed Trump, holy crap, Tulsi just proved Obama lied again in his statement yesterday. And Nick Sorter says that Obama should be rotting in a prison cell. But what matters most is what you think. And tell me, what do you think about everything we discussed and the idea that some folks believe General Motors shares got T-boned by tariffs and how the stock is diving 7% after the auto giant reported a 32% slump in quarterly profits due to a $1.1 billion hit from the tariffs, which GM says will worsen in the current quarter. And how General Motors says Trump's tariffs have already cost him $1 billion and could reach $5 billion by year's end.
General Motors shares T-boned by tariffs. The stock is diving several percentage points here, 7+% after the auto giant reported a 32% slump in quarterly profits due to a $1.1 billion hit from the tariffs, which GM says will actually worsen in the current quarter.
Or how about this post here from Spencer Hakimayan, who says Toyota is up 8%, plus 8% on the news of a 15% tariff, and asks why? Following up with an answer saying, well, it's simple. Ford, GM, Tesla, and all the other American manufacturers are going to be paying 50% more for their steel, 50% more for their copper, 25% more for their Canadian production, 25% more for their Mexican production, and 55% on their Chinese production. Toyota only has to pay 15% more, and they're done with all the shenanigans. Ford has to pay much more than that, a lot more, in fact. Spencer says that we've given a Japanese car company an advantage over American car companies, all in hope of bringing auto jobs back to America. 0D chess, he says.
Secretary, how much revenue have you raised so far from tariffs? I know that we saw a budget surplus in the Treasury in the month of June. Last time we saw a budget surplus was President Trump's first term. Is that largely because of the tariff revenue, and how much have you raised so far this year?
Well, we're closing in on $100 billion. I think we could annualize at $300 billion. So a way to think about that is that's roughly 1% of our U.S. 30 trillion GDP. So, that is a big number, Maria, and we didn't get any credit for that in the CBO scoring. I don't agree with the CBO scoring, but CBO scoring did say that there's a chance over the 10-year window we could take in $2.8 trillion of tariff revenue. And the great thing about the June number was not only was it an increase in tariff revenue, we brought down expenses. So it was a great combination, lower expenses, higher revenues, and that's how we are going to get this budget mess that we were left with under control.
Two sides to every story, I suppose, or is it three? I've lost track at this point. And speaking of bringing jobs back to America, well, where did they all go? Now, some would say to lower wage acceptance, illegals, undocumented migrants, asylum seekers.
I'm from Brooklyn, New York. We have a diaspora that can absorb a significant number of these migrants. And when I hear colleagues talk about, the doors of the inn being closed, no room in the inn, I'm saying, I need more people in my district, but just for redistricting purposes. And those members could clearly fit here.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, this is how you hijack democracy. Even if they aren't taking jobs away from Americans, they are redistricting in hopes of stealing future elections to keep the corrupt and feckless in power, or worse, unseat MAGA. But the cost of living, wages, and jobs are definitely a hot topic right now. And there's so much talk, fear, and speculation going around right now about just how bad the future will be and what dark clouds are in the forecast tomorrow.
And so there's a lot of people that feel completely disenfranchised by the system that's currently in place now that I think is going to be upended by AI. So there is an opportunity for them to do something completely different. And the positive aspect of universal basic income is that, first of all, I think we could both agree that if an enormous amount of jobs just go away, that probably is the only way to sustain society. You can't just have people go poor and go hungry when we have unfathomable wealth that's being created by these same systems, right? So universal basic income, on one hand, has a lot of hope because there is this potential that you now no longer. So we're locked into this situation where you think that you're working and you have to work because you have to take care of food and you have to take care of shelter. And that this is what most people are doing with most people in this country right now are working check to check. They're living paycheck to paycheck and they're essentially getting by. And any catastrophe, medical or otherwise, will eliminate all savings instantaneously and they're doomed. And so what they're doing is just working, giving most of their life just to sustain whatever state they're in currently. And that's very frustrating for people because they don't think they ever get ahead and they don't think they have any potential to get ahead. So if something comes along that takes care of that aspect of life, so if universal basic income can provide you with food and shelter, now you no longer have to think about food, you no longer have to think about shelter. Now you have to find meaning.
But there's a silver lining, a break in the storm, and let's call it doing that one thing to two birds with just a single stone. Take a look at this. So, okay, who wants to be an ICE agent? Get this. A six-figure salary, federal benefits, $45,000 signing bonus, and you get to arrest and deport criminal invaders. Don't tempt me with a good time, folks.